Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to share my screen. And we will get started. So today we're going to talk about dynamic columns and switching from one table, data source table to another in runtime, etc. So there are some situations when database structure is not defined. You need to work with something that is flexible or without making changes to your project every single time. So it has some advantages, has some limitations, obviously. And let's start with something simple. People quite often ask, how can I modify SQL query completely? Like, based on some condition, I want to select data from a totally different table, for instance. And you know that we have before SQL query event, where you are able to see the current SQL query, but you cannot change it. It's a read-only variable, and it's for many reasons. It's not that easy just to randomly change SQL query and expect everything to be still working. But there is another technique that we can use, and let me show you. So let's assume we have two identical tables, table 1 and table 2. All fields are the same. And table 1 has 4 records in it. Table 2 only has 2 records in it. We also have a users table. And you can see we have a table field which has the value of table 1 for username test and table 2 for username user. And for admin, it's empty. There is nothing in there. So let me show you how it works, and then I explain what did we do. This is a very simple technique. So what we want is that when we log on as a test, we see data in table 1. And if we log on as a user, we should be able to see data in table 2. The idea is there can be like more table than just 2. There can be any number of tables. And conditions can be, for instance, you want some users to work with the current copy of the data, and some users should be able to work, okay, what was it, test. We click test, we go to our SQL view, and we can see that for user test, we see 4 records, which is our table 1, right, 4 records. And if we log out here and log on as user, and go to the same SQL view table, we can see that this SQL view only shows us 2 records, which is data coming from table 2. So what we're doing here, based on the value of that table field in users table, we either show data from table 1 or from table 2. And again, there can be any number of tables here. And if its field is empty, then we show some default data from some default table. So how we implement it? Very simple. First of all, after successful login event, we save the value from table field in a session variable named session table name. Then we create a SQL view. SQL view, we created one right here, and that's our SQL view. We created SQL view, or we specified SQL query, select all from table 1. Then we executed query, added columns to the list of the fields, and switch to code mode. Let me copy all this stuff. I can show you from scratch how it's being done because it's very simple. Okay. So switch to SQL mode again. So that's what we're doing here. We can run the SQL. I have already added all those fields to the list of the fields. And now I click generate PHP code. So it's going to show you the default code is going to erase my changes, which is not a big deal. Okay, that's our default code. Okay. Select everything from table 1. So we're going to modify our SQL variable here. So first of all, we are going to check if not empty our session variable. We didn't have to save it in session variable. We can retrieve it right here, but I think session variable is a reasonable option. So if it is not empty, then we are going to modify our SQL query. And our SQL query is going to be select all from, and here goes our session variable. That's it. That should be it. Okay, let me build it again and double check it to make sure it works. But so it's very simple. And again, it's not very useful yet, but okay, that's our user. And if we log out and log on as test, we should see 4 records in SQL view. Okay, yeah, SQL view 4 records. So that's the idea. And you can modify it any way you want. Very simple idea. Just basically 2 lines of code that we needed to change. Okay, I'm saving this project and we are going to work with something that is much more complex and potentially useful in some situations. So what we have here, imagine a situation that your users need to work with some data, but data structure changes at all times. Like, for instance, they're getting some CSV or Excel file from somewhere. They need to upload it into your application, and the structure can be different. Maybe a couple of new fields being added every week. And you don't want to rebuild application every time. You just want your users to be able to do something with this data. Import this data, make it stored in a physical table, modify it, search, do whatever they want, maybe export it again. And you don't want to be bothered by the email saying, oh, we need a couple more fields, or we need to drop that field, etc. So it can be done. It's lots of custom coding. You can think about it as Google Sheets, right? You can import your Excel file, you can modify it online, and you can do whatever you want with this kind of data. So you don't want your users to be sending Excel or CSV files around. You want them to edit it in a single place. So instead of using Google Sheets, we're going to do something very similar in our project. And we already have a project for PHP Runner, and obviously we're going to have the same project in for ASP.NET. Okay, and so let me show you how it works. There is no login, and we have 2 tables here. This one is a custom view. That's not a table. And basic table is a table with the data. By default, it only has 1 field, record number, which is going to be auto increment primary key. And fields table Oh, no, that's other way around. Fields table is a list of fields, and basic table is the actual physical table with the data. Okay, let me show you how it works, and then I will explain how it was made possible. So, three menu items here. Fields table. This is where we store a list of fields. All fields are just simple text fields, right? Like we keep in this example simple, so we do not specify if that's going to be an integer field or date field or anything. All fields are just the text fields. Similar again to what you do in Google Sheets. Okay, so we have 5 fields here. So if you go to our basic table that has some data, we can see these 5 fields here. So if we want to, we can manually add one more field here. We will call it field 6. Save it. We can see 6 fields here. And if you go to basic table now, we can see that there are 6 fields here. So if you want to modify it, and it appears right here. So, and we'll also the view, we can add new record, we can export, and we can import. And there is one other piece of functionality. So if you want to reset the whole thing and sort of start from scratch, and you already have a CSV or Excel file with data, you can just upload a new file here, and it will reset everything, delete existing data, reset the database structure for this basic table, and create a new table based on your CSV or Excel file. So I have basic table CSV file here. I upload it. And you can see we have 5 fields now that look like this with 2 records. Let me show you this CSV file, and we will make some changes and import it again so you understand what exactly is happening there. So I go to downloads. That's my basic table CSV. And and I will add something else. So 3 records, 6 fields, right? I click save. And I go here and I add this file again, upload, and boom, we are on a basic table screen. We have 6 columns, 3 records. Okay. So that's the idea, and now I will show you how it was implemented. So let's start with what is happening when we add, edit, or delete a field here in our database structure table, like a metadata table. Okay. When someone adds a new record to our fields table, after record edit, we first of all we check for duplicates. We need to make sure that someone doesn't add the same column twice, the same column name, right? And this field already exists, if it exists, and then we physically add this new column to the database. So we execute alter table, basic table, adding a new column, data type is varchar 500. and we just execute this query. So obviously, this is MySQL syntax. And if your database is different, SQL Server, Oracle, Postgre, you need to modify this line of the code to use syntax that belongs to your database. And basically the same idea with after record deleted, we just drop this column from the physical table. Obviously, if you don't want to use a table named basic table, you will also have to change a table name right here. And syntax needs to be adjusted to match your database type. And exactly the same thing with editing structure. Also checking a new name for the duplicate, and then we modify old field name to be a new field name. Again, change is the syntax for MySQL. So I hope it makes sense. That's easy part. So changes made to the fields table. As soon as we change them, right away we modify the structure of basic table. And let's do it again. Let's delete my field, delete, go to basic table, and we have no longer have my field here. And obviously it will not appear on any other pages. Okay, let's start with the list page. Let's see how this list page is implemented. So all we know that we have record number, rec no field, and it's here. And instead of its label, we inserted a code snippet. And in this code snippet, we get a list of columns from a column list variable and output it here. So idea is we need to be able to add as many rows, table rows, as we have a number of records in our table. And besides that, we also need to add columns to the right of rec no field. And we cannot do it in PHP because all we have is this rec no field, and we cannot do anything outside this table cell, right? That's all we control. So it's much easier to do something like this, dynamically add table rows and columns, easier to do it in JavaScript. So what we do here, we prepare everything that we can in our PHP code, output this kind of structure. I will show you how exactly it looks in generated HTML code. And then we use our JavaScript to dynamically add more table rows and more columns. So what we're doing here, for every column, that is our column list session variable, we add this kind of code snippet. Let's check JavaScript unload event of list of the list page. Okay, JavaScript unload event. So first of all, we get a hold of that list of fields that is stored in this cell. We parse it into head fields variable, which is an array. And for every element in this array, we add a new th variable, this table header cell. And what we insert inside this table cell is name of the field right here. So that's the idea. And the same, page of get all records. That's what our get all records is. JavaScript API function that returns a list of all records is a two-dimensional array. We do have it in our API, and we use these JavaScript API functions to loop through all the data that our SQL query returned, and we add a new. We need to do it manually. We add a new TR element, table row, and then we populate it with data. So this is it. So this is how we do it on the list page. Okay, let me show you, well, first of all, after table initialized event, right here. This is where our session variable with columns list is coming from. So before we open any page of our basic table, we execute SQL query that retrieves a list of fields from fields table and saves it one by one in columns array, and then assigns it to columns list session variable. So it is available on every single page of the basic table. So we just do it once, so we don't need to do it everywhere. Okay, let's talk about add, edit, and view pages. So add page. Before display event, we are simply passing our columns list as the via proxy variable to JavaScript, and we are passing the array with columns list. So the most interesting part of this function is, again, not very easy to implement, I guess, but we are looping through this columns list array, and for every column we create a new table row and insert text edit control field here. And this is just the first part of the magic. And we also implement before save event handler. So it's not enough to dynamically add all those text fields to the page. We also need to make sure that we submit all those fields together when we click save button. So this part of the code is not new. We have something in our manual as well. So an article is about adding a custom field to the form. So you can insert HTML code via code snippet or directly on the editor page. And it's just definitely not recommended to do in HTML mode, but it can be a code snippet, right? The point is there is a new input field on our page, and in our before save event that is executed right before, right after we click save button, but before the page is actually submitted, we add a new variable to form obj base params object. Test is the field name, and val is the value. So that's basically what we do here, and we do it for all our dynamic columns. Oh, we prepare the whole thing. Right. We prepare the whole thing, and then we push all of them to form base params all together. It's an array. So that's the idea. So most likely you do not need to modify this part. It takes care. If you want to modify something like, again, one of the possible modifications is to allow users not just to enter field name, but also specify if that field is going to be text field, integer, or maybe a date field. But again, it's going to be more code pretty much everywhere. And if you need to, so this code right here simply creates a new text column for every single field. So this is the easiest option right here. So, and now in our custom add event, this is what we do here. Values is, again, it's an array where with field names and field values. And we go through this array and prepare another array with a correct format where name and the value. And then we just use our database API insert function, and we insert into basic table an array, and second argument is an array with field names and field values right here. So this is something that is very similar happening on the edit page, custom record update. The code is basically the same. The only difference is that we need to specify, we call a different function, obviously, which is update. And that's an array with field values. And we also need to specify which record we are updating. So you can see that this rec number field name is hard-coded here as well. So it is probably easier to keep database structure and field name basic table, probably easier to keep it the way it is. And after all, it's not really that important. Users don't need to know that it's called basic table. You can name it in your menu any way you want. Like it's a table with data. We just call it basic table because we needed to call it something. And if we speaking about the edit page, the same idea. Before display event, we pass a few things here. We also pass a list of columns that we definitely need. We also need to pass ID of the record that we're working with right now. And we also need to pass the record itself. So we retrieve the record from the database, from a basic table, and we also pass it via proxy method to JavaScript. And in JavaScript, we do something that is very similar. And the only difference between add page and edit page is that we need, when we create edit control, we also need to set its value. So this is where we do it right here. So this is the line. Control. That's where we do it. Okay. And there is one more thing that is also very interesting. So there are two tables, and you can just simply let some sort of admin person modify fields table right here, adding and deleting and renaming the fields. This is possible. And the second option is if you want to speed up this process, you can allow someone also upload Excel or CSV file and just reset the structure. So you can use both options. So let me show you how this part works. And we created a custom view, and this is the add page of the custom view. And there is one field here that is configured as edit as type is set to file. So we can upload something here. And let's take a look at the code. behind this page. So we are going to, so this is not basic table, and this is not fields table. This is our create new table view, and add the code in before record edit. And then that's basically the same code. We just the same code that we've been using before. So that's the part that works with Excel files. So same thing with CSV, it's just less code. And once we processed CSV or Excel file, we do, if there were no data, then we don't do anything. So this is it. Have a great weekend, guys, and I will talk to all of you next week. Bye-bye.